Charles Koch, one of the billionaire brothers, sat down for a Q&A with Washington Post's Matea Gold. Now, they covered a lot of different issues, but I want to go over some of the highlights, some of the questions. Now, this exclusive by the Washington Post started out with him saying how powerless he is. Oh, already. He said, "There are so many things I would change. If I had all this power, why aren't they getting changed? This is ludicrous." Now, that's an important statement. Because here is this guy that's an incredibly powerful billionaire lamenting of how, I just don't have any power. Maybe it's because the people are pushing back against your bullshit ideas. Maybe. But anyway. So some of the topics they went over include 2016. Now, he was asked if he has picked a favorite candidate, him and his brother. Now she asked, "Do you have a favorite at this point?" No. "Do you have a couple you think most highly of?" Well, he answers, "Well, we've named 5 that we think have some combination of probability of winning the nomination and of having the most issues that we agree on. Those 5 are Governor Scott Walker, Jeb Bush, Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, and Marco Rubio, by the way. Now, of them, he says, we don't agree with any of them on all the issues." And now, the next question, how important is it to you to see a Republican in the White House? And I love this answer. Well, it depends on the Republican. I'm not a Republican. I consider myself a classic liberal. Okay, all right. So maybe if you're talking like 1800s classic liberal, maybe. He says, "I believe in certain principles, and I'm looking for candidates who are advancing those principles." Yes, the principles of David Koch and Charles Koch making boatloads of money. Those are those principles. Now, as we see, the trajectory of this country is not positive, and particularly for the disadvantaged. Oh, well, we actually agree on that. As we see what's happening, the gains in productivity have dropped, the gains in income for the middle class and the least advantaged have slowed at best, so what I'm looking at is policies that will change that. Is he trying to be a fighter for the poor? That's almost comical in how absurd it is. He continues, "Now, I like a lot of the Republican rhetoric better than the Democrats. But when they're in office, it's pretty much the same thing. It's serving their supporters." Yeah. When the Republicans are in office, they serve supporters like you. I'm just saying. It's corporate welfare. It's cronyism, which is so destructive, particularly to the disadvantaged. Once again, he's pointing at poor people and saying, "Oh, look at those guys, see? Look at how much they're hurting. Look at how much I want to help poor people." Now, here's some information on this. Koch Industries and its subsidiaries, now they're talking about subsidies, right? Corporate welfare cronyism. Well, its subsidies have secured government subsidies, or subsidiaries, have secured government subsidies worth more than $166 million, according to the data compiled by the watchdog group Good Jobs First. The group says since 1990, Koch-owned properties have received more than 191 separate subsidies, worth a total of $195 million. But we're going to lament cronyism. We're going to talk about how subsidies are terrible while taking lots and lots of subsidies. No, but he's forced to do so. I'll get to that in a minute. Now, he continues in this interview. "I think the Democrats are taking us down the road to serfdom at 100 miles an hour, and I think the Republicans are taking us at 70 miles an hour." So wait a minute. You think the Democrats are worse than the Republicans at corporate welfare? Really? The entire Republican Party is nothing but corporate whores. They love giving out that welfare to rich people. They love giving it to corporations. You think the Democrats are worse? Look, they both love themselves some good old-fashioned crony capitalism. I get it. But at least the Democrats aren't 100% bought off like the Republicans. They're both bad. They both do some cronyism, right? But the Republicans are far more transparent in what their priorities actually are, and that's servicing the rich and servicing multinational corporations. This is hilarious. Now, Matea Gold asks another question. She says, what do you say to those who believe you have too much influence? This is a good answer. Wow, believe me, if I had too much, a lot of things would change, just like the very things we've been talking about. This trend towards the two-tiered society and their trajectory we're on, that's taking us there, and criminal justice. There are over 1,000 low-income occupations, and in some community, you've got to get a license. I mean, this is nonsense. Oh, yes, having to get a liquor license, that's nonsense. You want to open a bar, you got to get a liquor license? Oh, so much nonsense to make sure that you can actually serve drinks. Interesting. And here's the funny thing. He's basically saying we don't have too much influence. All we have is this bunch of think tanks out there pushing out garbage studies on climate change, economics, and to try to make a case for deregulating industry. You know, I wonder who would benefit from those three things right there. More is more. The Koch brothers are a major funder of the State Policy Network. If you've never heard of that, it's a web of state-level conservative think tanks all across the country. Koch Industries has also one of the select members of ALEC's corporate board for almost 20 years. And the company's top lobbyist was once ALEC's chairman. So they have ties. ALEC has also pushed for things like Stand Your Ground, if you can remember. There was a big fight in the States, in Florida, over ALEC model bills and of things like Stand Your Ground, which would ironically increase gun sales, which would benefit corporations, gun manufacturers, etc. So there you go. It's another example. Here's another example of what they did back when George W. Bush was still governor of Texas. See, he signed a model bill giving corporations immunity from penalties if they tell regulators about their own violation of environmental rules. Hey, you know, I violated this environmental rule. I dumped a whole bunch of poison into the river, but it's okay because I'm telling you guys, and because of this law, I now get immunity from any damages. But we hate cronyism. We hate unfair rules, except for the ones that we write, except for the ones that our organizations push for. Oh, God, it's so hypocritical. There's more. Dozens of other ALEC bills would limit environmental regulation or litigation in ways that would benefit Koch Industries. But don't worry, we don't have a lot of influence. In fact, we have too little influence. There's more. Another Koch group, Citizens for a Sound Economy, launched the effort to repeal Glass-Steagall. Do we still have a Glass-Steagall? Anybody? Anybody? Glass-Steagall? Do we still have it? No? That's right. We don't. And that's one of the reasons, not the entire reason, but one of the reasons our entire financial system collapsed in 2008. And then subsequently, after the crash and during the so-called recovery, most of the gains just happened to flow into the pockets of the rich, including Koch Industries. Interesting how that happens. Not only that, NAFTA. NAFTA passed with the help of the, of course, Citizens for a Sound Economy and its corporate allies, and of course, third-way centrist Bill Clinton. Which, of course, Bill Clinton also helped push for the repeal of Glass-Steagall. To be fair. But no, trust me, we don't have that much influence. We don't have too much influence. It's crazy. And this influence thing, well, that goes to the money question, right? Now, Matea Gold also asked this question. How is it fair that people who have more money have more of a voice in politics? Isn't that an imbalance? That's a really good question about money and politics. Now, he answers, well, voice? Oh, what does that mean? What does that mean, a voice? I mean, the government is largely influenced by people. Yes, if people are corporations. which Mitt Romney thinks corporations are people, my friend, who advocate corporate welfare and yes, okay, let me stop there. Are you saying that people are out there, regular people out there, the people are saying, let's get some more corporate welfare for you guys. You guys need more corporate welfare. That's something America needs. We don't have enough. Let's give corporations more money in the form of subsidies. You don't hear people saying that. In fact, most people are against corporate welfare. But we don't see that. And he doesn't understand that. Now he continues. Influenced by people who have corporate welfare and advocate these policies that create this two-tiered society. So, I mean, a voice? Yeah, we get more press. You're all interested in what we say. But are we really having an influence? I mean, I would get rid of all the corporate welfare. We fight against all of it while taking it. We make a lot of money out of all this corporate welfare because we can't do anything about it. But I believe unless we do that, we're not going to preserve our free society. Oh. Isn't it kind of funny and sad at the same time how they've tried to turn themselves into the defenders of the poor and downtrodden and the advocates against corporate welfare while taking their own corporate welfare? Remember, they said that they're forced to take corporate welfare. We're forced to have it. I mean, they're giving us money. What are we going to do? We're going to take it. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. Why don't they actually take a stand and say, we're not going to take this corporate welfare, and we're not going to give any money in the form of donations to any candidate unless they eliminate things like, for example, oil subsidies. That would go a long way. You want to show yourself as an enemy of corporate welfare and of subsidies, get rid of your own. Lobby and pay politicians with your considerable sums of money to get rid of your own subsidies. You do that, I'll be on Team Koch. I will applaud you right here on the air. I'll be like, yes, Koch brothers, new heroes. You're not going to do that. Why? Because you benefit tremendously from corporate welfare and cronyism. Actions, not words, they mean a lot. And as I said, they're not going to do that because their number one priority is to make more money for Koch Industries, to eliminate regulations, to privatize educations, to lower their own taxes. This is what the Koch brothers do. But they say that they're defenders of the poor. But what would actually happen with their policies and their platform is that it would make poor people worse off. Every candidate that they fund, remember, is for ripping up the social safety net. Now, personally, they may give a lot of money to charity, right? But no amount of charity would offset the millions of people's lives who would be destroyed by Koch brothers' backwards ideology.